Ladies, gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary, welcome to the Monday Discourse for today, November 15th, 2021. I'm your host, Tristan. I run the YouTube channel Step Back History, and I am the co-host of the hit podcast, It's Probably Not Aliens. Those projects can be found at stepbackhistory.com and probsnotaliens.com. I stream on Mondays and Tuesdays. Mondays I do the Monday Discourse with Mia Mulder, where I take questions and I hang out with my good friend Mia Mulder, who will be joining us shortly. It runs from 12 till 2 Eastern, which is right now. On Tuesday nights, I do Step Back Tonight from 7 to 9, where we go over the news, we answer some questions, and generally have a chill hangout stream. I go by he, him pronouns, and you can support my work by going either patreon.com/stepbackhistory and getting videos early for as little as 84 cents a month, or if you have Amazon Prime, using your one free Twitch Prime subscription per month to help me out with a little bit of dosh that is at no extra cost to you. Or, at least use it on some independent creator, because Amazon just keeps your money otherwise. And of course, if you do have a little bit of cash that you are willing to part with, and you are, safe and feel safe in doing so, subscriptions, bits, Twitch subscriptions, bits, super chats, all of them are lovely and appreciated. And if you want to see some of my latest content, the latest video I made is on overpopulation. It's about 3 weeks old at this point, so you've probably seen it by now. My next video is on CyberSyn. It's currently finished and available for patrons now, and I'm just waiting on the sponsors for approval to release the main video. So expect that sometime this week. And the latest episode of It's Probably Not Aliens, which came out last Tuesday, is a sort of grab bag on a bunch of topics that I didn't have enough to do a whole episode on. So if that... I did one on the Kambaya airplanes, one on a city that apparently might have been an airport, and flying carpets. It was very fun. Yeah. And, of course, if you want to submit questions for future streams, I'm going to put a link in the chat to a place where you can submit questions. And, yeah, you can go there. You can fill out questions, and I hang on to them for about a month, so... if you don't get them answered today, which you probably won't, we have a pretty big backlog. But in the future, if you hang around, you'll probably hear it. It's very rare that I delete questions. Yeah, and lastly, if there are any new people, if this is their first time watching a stream, please make yourself known, because we have a very large and supportive stream community that would love to have new people hanging out with them. So, yeah. So if it's your first time, say hi. I think that's all the things to kind of get us started. So that means that I should probably be getting Mia in here so that we can start having our convo. All right, where are you, Mia?
Good morning, Vietnam, as they say.
Hello.
Hello. And thank you for having me on this wonderful Monday evening.
Yeah. You having a good time?
I am having a good time. I've been diving deep into Victoria 3 lore. I've been reading all the dev diaries, been watching the things. Getting excited is what's happening.
I am very excited for that game, and I hope we get to see it soonish. But what I love is that
we get to see something.
The new war system. I adore how mad it's making the people who see this as like they're like a war game, and they were like,
the fact that people on the Reddit are, it's a very controversial opinion. It's a very controversial choice, which is why it's the correct one, because everyone who likes Victoria for I'm going to build a nice society for people, love it.
Yeah, I mean...
And everyone who just wants to conquer the world as Imperial Germany are upset because they can't do it the way they want to.
Yeah, to me, I'm like, oh, this is how I want all Paradox games to be. Interesting.
I know. If they could do this to EU4, I would lose my shit.
Because, like, if you want to do stuff where you're moving little guys around, you might as well just play, like, the Total War series.
Honestly, though.
I should probably start this stream by asking you a question that a lot of people a lot of people around ask me, which is, who are you and what are you doing in my house?
My name is Mia Mulder, and I want all your valuables in this bag. Thank you. And while you do that, I will tell you about my YouTube channel that I do. I do videos on YouTube.biz where I do content. I talk about the cool stuff that I do. I'm currently working on my upcoming video about drinks.
Hi, hello.
Which is going to be my most ambitious video to date. So hopefully that's going to be good and not crash and burn.
I want to say thank you to Frackle for leaving a subscription while you were introducing yourself. Yeah, there's some Mia Mulders in chat already. This is good. We're off to a good start. Is there a Marxist revolution system? Listen, there's an everything revolution system.
I haven't. Did they do a dev diary on that? Like,
I
know that
think so.
They did a dev diary on like interest groups, and I know that they mentioned something about like revolutions and stuff like that. But I haven't.
Essentially, they have interest groups, which are like classes in society, and then if they find the people who are ruling over them, their policies and their material conditions getting more and more out of line, what happens is they become more radicalized. And when their radicalization is basically a measurement of how willing they are to do like violence and extremism in order to get their political changes done. And when it tips over, that's when you start having revolutions.
Which is great, because imagine that system combined with like mods in the future.
Yeah.
Like if you could have a modern day mod with that system and just have like QAnoners be an interest group.
Yeah.
If you wanted to, and they could secede.
I still think that if they were to adapt it, because this was a game that this is a Paradox game that was in production and then it got canceled, which was going to be a sure, it had a name too, but it was going to be a Cold War game. It was going to be their Cold War game. It was in production, and then it got canceled mid-development. But man, can you imagine like Victoria 3, but like if you try, like all these political plays happen, but if you actually like go through with it, the world ends.
Oh no.
And the entire goal is just to get through the 20th century without ending the world.
Yeah, if the nuclear powers ever get into a diplomatic play that ends in war, the game is over. You can still do it against minor players, but if you ever do it against a major player and both sides are involved, game over.
God, that'd be so good. I mean,
I love that. It's gonna be a mod. Like there are mods for Victoria 2, right? Like people are going to make them into Victoria 3.
Oh yeah.
Like in a week, like people are gonna do that shit.
Yeah. The only let me actually check what it was going to be called. Because it was a canceled project at one point. Okay, yeah, it was going to be called East versus West.
Oh.
And it was going to be based on the Hearts of Iron system. Yeah, East versus West, a Hearts of Iron game.
Well, I think canceling that and like going into Victoria was probably a better choice, because the Victoria I think can be modded to just become that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
this is how you know how long I've been following this bullshit, because it got canceled in like 2014.
And we have ever since then, both of us have been like waiting for the new Wiki game, which is why I'm so fucking excited for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't wait to.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm getting by. I'm busy. I'm currently doing some like stuff behind the scenes, but my hope is that in a week or so, I'll be working on sort of the last cluster of videos before I go on my break. So that's gonna be fun.
That's gonna be fun. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's dominating my mind these days.
Fair.
But yeah, it's gonna.
Has anything been dominating the news cycle? I like how we're basically like two anchors in a morning show.
Yeah. Okay. So this week, that is a good question. What has this week been dominated by? Oh yeah, I mean the only news I could think of that really is dominated is not something that this stream would be super into, but it like speaks to my terrible taste in music, which is that Taylor Swift re-released a 10-year-old album and everybody's talking about it.
Yes, I've heard about this. It's like real release with new lyrics, right?
It's not so much new lyrics. It's just so it's an interesting thing about how stupid copyright is, which is that she owned the rights to the song, like the written song, but not the rights to its recording that was on the album. So I guess she's like breaking up with her old publisher and going solo, like going indie. So she's basically going through this process. This is the second one where she's taking all of the albums that she made and she has the rights to the songs, re-recording them and re-releasing them. So that's the main thing that's going on. It's just like another example of like the silliness of copyright, but it's leading to like, you know, a bunch of songs that were left on the cutting room floor being released and a 10-minute version of one song being released. So it's kind of interesting. It speaks a lot to like how our culture just wants to keep revisiting old things instead of making new things, but that's fine. I get it. She wants to get all of the things that she put all of that creative energy into creating, and then actually getting the like, you know, rights or the money for making it. That makes sense to me. Okay. The next thing I got here. Oh, the other thing is this is a discourse that'll make our brains cry. So you know Kyle Rittenhouse, right?
Yeah, I have heard. I haven't kept up too much with the drama because I'm incompetent. And stressed.
Well, he's on trial, and basically it's like a complete show trial. Like the judge is essentially advocating on his behalf.
Yeah,
like the judge is like openly saying that this guy's basically already innocent, and I'm just like going through the motions. Mm-hmm. And that's been fun to watch. Like literally the biggest farce of a court case I think I've seen live. Then the second thing,
Zoom adds artificial data using algorithms and AI, and that's why we can't use a pinch to zoom feature on a video, on video evidence. So that video evidence is not allowed.
Oh yeah. And the other fun thing is that it has started a new on-ramping of the continuing red browning of the dirty bag left, as you call them. The continued on-ramping of the dirty bag left into fascist politics. So I've even seen people in my own goddamn Discord server that I'm like, I think I'm going to ban you because you're just like supporting this white supremacist murderer in my in my house. No, thank you. But like now increasingly the like weird Nazbol leftists are coaxing a growing number of people into supporting an actual white supremacist who committed murder. So that's been fun.
Yeah, the judge like today, like just like half an hour ago, not even joking, dismissed a weapon charge against him that was going to be part of the entire closing arguments. Because he was under 18 and had a dangerous weapon, which is not allowed. So that's also not part of it anymore. Just like I love that the judge can just be like, all of these parts of a crime, none of them count, and if you keep doing that for far enough, there is no crime left.
Yeah, that's one of the weirdest things about court cases in general. It's like, so like it's done by like a jury, which are picked to be like the most like the people who know the least about what's going on, so that they're least likely to have a position. But then, like, what will happen is that the cases will show evidence, and then it'll get dismissed. And the literal instructions are to the jury: you are supposed to ignore that thing you just saw. Ignore the thing that you just saw. We're gonna move on. And it's like, nobody can actually do that. So yeah.
Great. We're doing
life
great.
Life is great. Oh yeah. Are we bitching about June? Not just her. There's a lot of people who are openly supporting a racist who committed murder.
Is this an American thing though? Because I feel like self-defense is because that's the big argument, right? The argument is about self-defense. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I'm definitely not an American lawyer. I've been to America once, and I have thankfully had no interaction with the legal system there, outside of TSA. But like, there are so many parts that like constitute self-defense that are just, I feel, voided by the fact of even having a gun and being in a situation like that.
Oh, it's not even like he went there with a gun with the stated purpose to go there to like put down some like protesters.
Yeah, which he had said that he wanted to do, right?
Many times, yes.
Even if you disregard so much of the like, even if you disregard like the political motivations, even if you disregard like the like who the victims are, I hear that like one or two of them are like also a real asshole, so I don't really know how that works. Even if you disregard all of that, surely they're like illegally arming yourself and illegally going to an area with a weapon, with the express purpose of like being prepared for violence. If you are attacked in a situation like that, can that still count as self-defense? Like, is American self-defense law so fucked up that you can basically escalate a situation to the point where you can feel justifiably afraid for your life and then just kill people?
Yeah, I mean, maybe
that can be legal, like that can be perfectly legal, but that would be wrong, in my opinion. Like that can be the law, but like so it's like the castle doctrine and shit. Like, that's also fucking weird.
Yeah, so in anticipation of this gross miscarriage of justice that's going to happen, the Wisconsin National Guard has already been called into Kenosha in preparation. So my guess is that the little fascist is going to get away with murder, literally, and it's going to cause a massive uprising, or massive, like, another night of protests. And then all the white people on Fox News are going to be like, I don't understand what these people hate about our society.
The law has said what it says. It's just like, maybe the fucking law is wrong. You know that, like, if the only reason why we're even at this point is because he's white, right?
Or even because he's a right-wing fascist. Like, think about it. If he did the exact same thing, if he was the exact same person, white kid, brings an AR-15 to support Black Lives Matter and killed like a Proud Boy, he would be in jail already. He would be in prison for 8,000 years.
He would have the death sentence like instantly.
Yeah. If the police hadn't just shot him dead on the street.
Yeah.
But because he was a fascist who went there to kill black people, essentially, he's gonna be free, because while America likes to tout about being free, about being supporters of free speech and freedom of, like, what's it called, these kinds of things, there's a long history in the United States of them inciting free speech to protect racists and fascists, and then invoking all of the brutal power of the state to suppress left-wing movements. So yeah, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, and it might be entirely legal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's fucked up. Also, okay, but I am confused also by the extreme amount of power that American courts have, and that they vest in an individual judge. Now, I don't know if this is how most of the world does it, and maybe I'm the one who's fucked up, but like in my country of Skyrim, we have, as far as I remember, typically more than one judge per case, like going on. So
yeah, it's a
so
tribunal, 3 judges.
something like that. But just so that like one asshole judge can't ruin an entire thing. So there's always a sort of like balance.
Oh, you want something that's even worse, though? So that's not only the case in America where instead of having a tribunal, they have one judge with a jury, but furthermore, America also elects their judges. So when you go to vote in the elections, you have to vote on what judges come in, and there's Democrats and Republican judges.
This isn't true. You're no.
Okay, there's not Democrat and Republican judges because they technically can't be part of parties, but there's very much like, this is the judge that likes black people, and this is the judge that wants to get rid of critical race theory or whatever.
Oh my god.
So,
I'm losing my mind.
Yeah, America's legal system is like, this is the one weird thing about America is that they elect so many random stupid things, and they have like competitive Democrats and Republicans running in these spots. Like, for example, there's one city that elects their mosquito control officer, and a lot of them elect their.
Oh, I remember this. I saw somewhere where the mine inspector is an elected position.
Yeah, they also elect coroners. They elect police chiefs. They elect sheriffs in more rural areas.
Like, I can see how all of this makes sense in a country that thinks it's still in the Wild West, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that thinks it's still living in the Wild West.
Yeah,
it's not. The period of Wild West only lasted for like a decade.
Yeah.
In very specific areas, but the entire fucking legal system in many rural areas are just based on how people worked then. 150 fucking years ago.
This is why I'm sure, Mia, when you go to vote, I imagine you get a ballot with all the parties on it, and you check the one you like, and then you hand it in, right?
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, here we have the same thing, but with candidates. The United States has, like, when you go there, you have, like, this huge list of things you have to vote for. And you want to know the most, like, American part of the whole thing? They have this huge list of things to vote for, but they have also added, like, a straight Democrat, straight Republican button. So you can push a button to just go all the Republicans and all the Democrats. Just to make it easier, because they have to vote for all of these random stupid jobs.
Yeah.
Including the coroner.
Oh, like, why? Like, I feel like the job of... Why is everything political in the U.S.? Like, obviously everything is political, but like, why is everything
explicitly
like a politically
political?
appointed position?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a weird thing about the United States in general. Like, because in Canada, you can choose to have a tribunal or a jury, which means it's either a selected group of people or you go before 3 judges. But like in America, you can only do the jury. If they don't do a plea bargain, which they can intimidate people into pleading guilty for a lighter sentence. If like even if they didn't do it, just because they want to make sure that like they want to because they think they'll be beaten by like a more expensive legal team on the other side, and like because public defenders, the lawyers that they give people who don't have any money, basically are always doing like ridiculous amounts of cases. They only have like a few minutes to do a case. They usually try to talk them into doing plea bargains so that they can get through their workload faster. America. And that's also, and this is a thing we do in Canada too, if they haven't already spent a year in jail waiting for their trial without being charged or convicted or anything. Or being charged but not being convicted. Yeah.
I love it. Losing my mind.
I think we got a thing here that just says, everything is an elected position, yet it's one of the least democratic countries in the world. This is true.
It really is.
So that's been the fun. So yeah, we've been watching the absolute farce that is the American legal system, followed by a murderer getting away with murder because he was a rich kid who has powerful parents that can buy lawyers. And also
Freedom.
and apparently, according to discussions about how the trial's going, not only is like the judge openly on his side, but the prosecution, which has been provided by the state, also is like putting up like the weakest potential argument ever. Like they're just like doing like an absolute shit job. Like it's everybody involved with the trial wants this kid to get away with murder, including the people who are trying to convict him of murder.
Like, bro. Like,
don't Americans lose their right to vote when they go to jail? Depends on the state, but there are a lot. Yes. A lot in the states where they have a disproportionately high black population, though that is the case, because it means in states like Florida, like because of how many black people are just put in prison for random shit, it like basically highly suppresses the black vote. It's why George Bush won Florida in 2000. The Rittenhouse legal team picked the same jury canvasser that worked in the defense of the OJ trial. Oh, fun. It's like everything.
Wonderful.
It's everything wrong with the American justice system in one case. It's crazy. So that's that.
That's that. Yeah. I've been like, whenever I hear news about it, it's always like some other bullshit going on about how, mostly about how the judge just like is the worst.
Yeah.
But and here's the kicker. Here's the thing that really hits, right? Because it's not just this trial, right? This is how most trials in the U.S. kind of work on various degrees. And that's why America has the most prisons in the history of the world.
Yep. Now, if that wasn't bad enough, then watching people like, are you familiar with? You must be, because you also are just, your brain is poisoned by Twitter like me. Are you familiar with extremely normal human being Amy Therese?
Yes.
So she was thirsty posting about Kyle Rittenhouse during the trial.
No. Yeah, come on.
Amy Therese, who I highly suspect is Peter Coffin's alt, was thirsty posting about Kyle Rittenhouse.
Why?
Who is Amy Therese? Amy Therese is a Australian far right like personality who pretend like she basically is like, the real socialism is hating trans people, like those kind of people. The sort of like she's like one of the OGs of like the like sphere that includes like Peter Coffin and Glenn Greenwald and like Jimmy Dore. That's just like absolute, like just basically fascists who are cosplaying as socialists.
Okay, I'm completely going insane. What? I'm gonna have like a Twitter. I'm actively getting psychic damage.
Yeah, you don't intentionally search for Amy Therese. She just shows up, and doesn't stop showing up.
Oh my god. Okay, I need to disconnect. I need to leave my mind. I'm being mind flayed.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
What's wrong with Peter Coffin? I've never heard this. Oh, well, I'm not going to get into that today, but oh boy, has Peter Coffin had a heel turn, narrative in the last year or so.
I mean, the only reason you think that is because you're part of the breadtube elite.
Yes.
Who serves the imperial interests of the CIA because you say you don't like him.
Yeah. Basically, about a year ago, he became convinced that every left-wing YouTuber that's not him is part of a grand CIA conspiracy to undermine the left by introducing social justice stuff.
Mhm.
and has been increasingly cozying up with people like Caleb Maupin, who is a regular at like neo-Nazi conventions, and has just been getting into what I can't. I actually cannot picture how they're not seeing the side of this. They're getting really comfy with something called patriotic socialism.
Hold on.
Yeah, wait.
You're lying. No. You're lying right now. Come on.
No. So there's something called, so like they were getting on this thing where it's like we need to like mix our socialist ideology with like American patriotism, and it's like, man, if only there was a synonym for patriotic, like nationalist or something. If only there was like they're basically like, if only there was a national socialism of some kind. I think we just hurt Mia. She's leaving. Mia's leaving the stream.
Good audible joke. I was trying to do a really good audible joke there, but unfortunately it didn't really work. I was trying very hard to play Erica.
Oh
but
no.
It didn't really translate out of my headphones.
Yeah, you should definitely see the patriotic socialism grift they were on for a bit.
I've somehow missed this.
And also just peek. There is a sign when you have completely crossed the threshold, and Peter did it a few months ago when he was pushing horse paste.
Well, I'm learning so much here. Like,
once you've been horse pilled,
I was blocked like ages ago, so I've missed so many of these things. I'm so happy.
Once you've been horse pilled, you don't go back.
You know. Anyway, we do answer.
Oh my, you're like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. It makes me sad.
I can't, like, because every year some YouTuber takes the cringe pill.
What's it called?
Cringe certificate.
Yeah, did you see that somebody actually made it?
I did. Pim Corman sent it over. The certificate, the
official
certified stamp of cringe.
Yeah, I think that we can very quickly put Peter Coffin as certified cringe.
Cringe of the week.
Cringe of the week.
We'll find more cringe probably during the stream.
Yeah, I'm down for this being a thing. We need more regular memes. Okay, so the first question we got here comes from Matt Lipton. Makes great tea. Hey Mio, was thinking about Syria, as one is wont to do.
As you do.
I think about
Syria every day.
Sometimes I'm just thinking about, man, if only we had those trees from the ancient Phoenicians again, how great it would be. Do you regret your old Syria video, or do you regret how you handled it and feel like you could do it better now?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
So the question here we got is, do you regret your old Syria video, or do you regret how you handled it and feel you could do it better now?
I don't regret any part of it. As far as I remember, my Syria video was ages ago. But I believe the point of that video was, this was like when I had, this was when I just started making YouTube videos, so it's not really a video essay, it's more like a rant. But I believe, if I remember correctly, that like the point of that one was that maybe military intervention in the Middle East, like even when it seems well-intentioned, it typically like becomes worse. It doesn't really matter like how what your noble goal is, because the more destruction you rain, the more bad things is going to happen. That like there's this, it's kind of hard way to avoid that. I believe that was my the point of that video, although it was again ages ago. It was like 3 years ago or something.
Yeah, I would still stand by that, because I can't think of a like Western intervention in any of these conflicts that helped more than it hurt.
Yeah, like it almost always gets worse. I would like to go back to the video someday though, because I do like talking about like foreign, like the foreign policy generally, which for my primarily like American and Western European audience would be a foreign policy thing. I definitely do want to make something of that again. I'm on a kick now where I'm like redoing old videos, but better, uh, so I can be proud of them.
Yeah, I've started a tradition where every anniversary of Step Back, I'm going to revisit one of my videos that I wanted to change something in and remake it. Like I did last month, or I did back in September with my conspiracy video, my first video.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I'm
So
gonna do that.
yeah, yeah, but I definitely do want to go back and do that again. I think, but I'm not sure it would be about Syria specifically. I have been wanting to do one on refugees.
Ooh,
Um, but it's a spicy topic here in Sweden. Um, so I've been kind of scared for doing it because I'm a little scared of neo-Nazis. Um, but I'm also a bit like I've been trying to find a moment like when refugees aren't controversial to do it, and that's never gonna happen. So I'm just gonna have to do it.
yeah,
But I think it could be interesting.
it
But
would be.
I also think that like as a Swede, since my country is very often portrayed as like this will happen, this ruination of a country will happen if you allow refugees in, even though Sweden's like fine. Um, I think it can hit well if I come from a like a if I as an ethnic Swede talk about like even though we have like even though we took in one of the highest per capita amount of refugees, things are fucking fine. Like it's good.
More, please.
Please more.
Yeah, I don't understand what like I don't understand why Canada hasn't just like been like all refugees, all of them. We'll take anyone you got. Like there was like this whole thing where like Canada, if it wants to be a like it's a country that is a rarity in the world, which is that it is growing in habitable land year on year,
Mhm.
which I imagine Sweden is too. That like what's it called? Canada could probably field a country with a population of 100 million, and if there's all these people escaping countries where our getting rich at their expense has caused them to lose habitable land in their country, then they should be coming here.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And judging how like Canada
Like
is a country where like almost half of our population either is first generation or lower, I don't understand why this is controversial.
I'm just thinking like Sweden has like a very low population and
And
like
Swedes aren't fucking, so you're not making new Swedes very fast.
yeah, we're we are dying off. We do need more people. And like we can definitely like we could house like 4 or 5 times our current population, even without like building anything on like native Sami land. It's fucking gigantic, and we have no one living here. Fucking, it's Skyrim. If anyone actually is brave enough to come to Skyrim to like be comfortable and safe, fucking let them.
Yeah. So
Anyway,
if
so
there's any,
I'm gonna make a video about that someday.
all of you, what's it called? Our Argonians, Red Guards, Orcs. What's another? I'm trying to remember another one. Elves. There's like 6 tons of elves or whatever.
Bretons.
Yeah, whichever one you want. You guys have a home in Skyrim. What's it called?
Come on in.
Maybe this is why nobody actually completes the main story of Skyrim, because both sides suck.
They do.
Okay. Oh, this is a fun one. Someone wants to know if we have any thoughts on probably the most prescient Star Trek episode of all time, which is the Bell Riots episode,
Oh my god.
which takes place in 2024, in which the homelessness problem has gotten so bad that they've made like a poor district in California that gets so large that it leads to like a revolt.
That's gonna happen, right?
Yeah,
was
where
like,
there's just
I-
such a
it's
critical
like-
mass of people who have no homes and have no money that the government has to start making basically like official government versions of Hoovervilles. And
Yeah. because homelessness like I haven't kept up with this too much at all, but like even just in the last like 4 or 5 years, homelessness has become like a like. I mean, it has always been a problem, right? But it has really like exploded in the U.S.
Yeah, and once the now that the eviction moratoriums are expiring too, there's a lot of people who haven't been able to afford rent or who haven't needed to afford rent during the pandemic, who are just going to lose their home.
Great.
So that's fun. That's cool. So that's where we are, friends.
So all we need now is some guy named Gabriel Bell. If you're out there, because you're alive.
Yeah, Star Trek wouldn't lie.
Star Trek would not lie. If there's a guy called Bell involved in like any social justice thing going on in the like at that year, I'm gonna lose my mind. When does Ireland reunify because of terrorism?
2024. 2024.
2024 is going to be an interesting year.
Yeah. The other thing
the
too.
Next election too, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh my. So the only thing that I can think in this situation we have to discuss is then, does that mean that there was a secret world war in 1996 that we weren't paying attention to? The eugenics wars.
Maybe it's still going on.
I know that kind of their retcon about it was that the eugenics wars was more like of a underground espionage thing than like an open war. But
yeah, I'm thinking
somebody accidentally said,
because yeah.
Oh, someone just accidentally said like was trying to say that Peter Coffin's been getting shittier and shittier as time goes on, but wrote Peter Griffin, and I'm like, you know what? Hard agree on both.
It's true. Here's what I'm thinking. You know how people like disagree a little bit about the start of the Second World War? Like,
yeah.
Do you count it from 1939, or do you count it from like 36, or do you count it from 33?
Or in America, where World War I started on December 10th, 1941.
Yeah.
December 7th, sorry.
So like, I think it's one of those situations. I think that like the invention of CRISPR, or like the invention of like gene, like what's it called? Scanning or whatever.
Yeah, genetic screening,
like,
yeah.
The genes. Yeah, genetic screens. I think some people in the future are maybe gonna mark that as the beginning of it, and then like in like 20 years or something like that, that's when we're actually going. That's when it's gonna break out into like the proper Third World War. When the rich people have like genetically engineered their super kids to be to take over like all of companies and all of politics, and then the rest of us poor ungenetically modified masses have to like rise up against our genetically modified oppressors. That's how I think. And then historians of the future are gonna go like, okay, well, when did this start? They're gonna say like when we started, when they began to be born. That's sort of when it started. That's how I'm gonna call it. I should be a writer for Star Trek.
Yeah, do it. See me. I always like. I have this idea for a that sort of in that vein for a sci-fi short story. I really got to write these at some point. About called Version Mismatch, where it's about genetic engineering of babies becomes like a more and more normal thing. But the problem is that there's different like batches of genetic enhancements that different companies start making. And basically they start designing it so that people who are born with genes from like one company are unable to reproduce with people from genes from the other company. And like they do this to kind of protect copyright because they're trying to like evolutionarily create more people who are part of their brand.
Oh God, this is a storyline for a movie or a book.
Yeah, I really like sci-fi
shit.
short stories, and that's one I've been wanting to write.
You should. That's a good premise.
Because the logic of capitalism and branding, and especially things like planned obsolescence and like the fact that like none of our technology that are made by different companies can talk to each other in any meaningful way, that applied to genetic engineering people, that's terrifying. So yeah, the Bell riots were based, and yeah, I hope that Star Trek is more prescient. Is prescient. Although I imagine that I feel like the Bell riots episode was probably written because at that time there was like a really bad homelessness crisis in Los Angeles specifically. But either way, fucking just another example of why DS9 fucking rules.
DS9 is good. They don't they saw Star Trek being like, oh, aliens have racial strife and economic oppression, but we don't. And DS9 was like, how about we do that but on Earth with people like humans?
Mm-hmm. The other thing too I want to mention is on this, while we're on the Star Trek vein, there's a couple things. One, Discovery premieres this week, so that's gonna roll.
Oh shit.
Second, there was a very quiet Paramount announcement that I feel like went under the radar, but for specifically the two of us and a few people in the chat, this is the best news, which is that they are starting the process of making HD remasters of Deep Space Nine and Voyager.
Fuck yes.
So I guess they finally found I think because those ones were filmed on tape while TNG was filmed on film, so it was really easy to master. But they're going to use basically kind of like artificial intelligence to increase detail on the episodes, because that's been a new thing for making what's it called, upcasting or enhancing film by by using machine learning to fill in the gaps.
Yeah. And then manually adjusting the algorithm as you go along, so it's and fixing tiny errors and shit as it goes. It does 99% of the work.
Yeah.
Fuck yes. HD DS9. Hell yes.
Okay,
Fuck
yeah,
yes.
because it took Paramount, because when Paramount first started making Discovery, everyone was mad because it was like, how can we get this new Alex Kurtzman era of Star Trek to tap into the nostalgia for anything but the 60s show? That's why the first 2 seasons of Discovery were very let's just tap into TOS nostalgia. But then they were like, all right, can we do TNG nostalgia? And then they made Lower Decks and a bunch of other stuff that's okay, we're doing that. But if this means that they're finally starting to tap into our shows, the late 90s Star Treks, the one D Space Nine and Voyager, which were the ones that were really going when I was growing up, I'm like, all right, we are in.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that the neural network enhancing to HD thing has a lot of really cool potential. And yes, someone just said computer enhanced is becoming a reality. Yes, and actually, there's something like that in either an upcoming or the latest version of Photoshop. So Photoshop has this technology in it now.
Oh shit.
There's all sorts of wild machine learning stuff in Photoshop. You can actually take a scene and say, make this a winter scene, and it will add snow and stuff like that. Yeah, it's wild.
Bro, that's fucked up.
Photoshop 2022 is pretty cool.
We live in fucking science fiction.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but we're having drones. Drones fly around now. It's just fucking normal. That wasn't a thing a decade ago. I'm still losing my mind about fucking drones. With robots making everything. Robot cops that walk around with machine guns on their heads. And now enhance is literally a thing.
Yep. I do think
we live in science fiction.
Yeah. I don't think that we're going to get driverless cars, but I do think at some point what we're going to get is drones that can carry people. Where you get inside
Uber is going to invest in this, yes.
Yeah, Uber quadcopter, where you get in the quadcopter and it takes you around. Which, TBH, an automated quadcopter, to me, would feel way safer than an automated car.
Yeah. I would rather fly than
low altitude, low distance flying would be dope. And I think that's that feels like it's way less technology and way less work than trying to figure out how to get cars to drive on their own.
Yeah.
So let's do it, everybody. So yeah, we are living in sci-fi, and it's good. Yes, and of course, it's also one step closer to the ornithopter, which is the ultimate invention. which it's a technology that makes absolutely zero sense in reality, but it's cool because it worms.
I saw someone make a breakdown post about like how it actually does make sense, but only for Dune.
I was like thinking like Arrakis would be the worst place, and it's like this is like a desert that notoriously destroys all the machines. So let's make a new flying machine that has way more moving parts than any other kind of flying machine.
But it has listen. They can glide. They're very maneuverable, and they can glide. They're very maneuverable. They are vertical takeoff and landing because you're not going to build like an airstrip on Arrakis. And what else? Like it folds in a very practical way, which protects us from the sand.
So it's like the Osprey, the number one like what's it called? The number one Soviet program to kill as many naval soldiers as possible by getting them to think they can build this vertical takeoff Harrier jet thing that kills like half the people who fly it.
Yeah, but imagine if it worked.
Yeah.
That's sci-fi Osprey. Yeah.
Yeah, sci-fi Osprey. So imagine an Osprey that doesn't kill like 100% of the people who drive it.
Yeah, impossible to build. It's fantastical science fiction.
Mm-hmm. What's it called? There's a great episode or a great segment in an episode of Well, There's Your Problem, all about the Osprey and how it's this like boondoggle creation by the U.S. Navy that notoriously kills pilots that use it, and they still keep making them and they still keep using them and they just keep killing people.
Still working.
Because it's like because I don't know if you guys know what the Osprey is, but it's like this, it's not a plane, it's not a helicopter, it's one of those things where it's like those sci-fi ideas of like it having like maneuverable fans that are so powerful that it can do powered flight.
Yeah, like it has like two turbines on its wings that go like this, so it can do a vertical takeoff, and then during flight it like changes the turbines forward, so the propellers just so it works as a prop plane.
Mm-hmm. Someone said the ornithopter has no advantage over the helicopter. Well, it can glide, and helicopters can't glide. And also, as long as we're talking about flying machines that notoriously kill everybody who flies them, the Kobe Killer 9000, otherwise known as the helicopter.
Oh my God, just Jesus.
What's it called? I would never let anybody that I actually care about ride in a helicopter.
No, they're not safe. I would definitely go into like an automatically piloted like Thopter from Uber, but I would never go into a helicopter.
No,
they're probably safe, but they're so dangerous. Actually,
it's like actually shocking how often helicopters kill people. Because like if their engine breaks, you can't do an emergency landing with them. They just crash.
They just fall. There's a wonderful thing that I like because people think helicopter and they think, oh well, they're like planes. No, planes are one of the safest things in the fucking universe because they have been specifically designed to carry a lot of people, and the more people you carry, then the more the safer something has to be, because you're going to accidentally have more massacres. And there's a huge media thing every single time a plane crashes. Every time a helicopter crashes, 4 or 5 people die, no one cares. Like hard news, but that's just how the media works. So, but therefore they're not like as high of a standard.
Plus, helicopter crashes happen so often that it wouldn't even make the news.
I know. So like driving a car is like it's safe-ish, right? Like it is safe-ish. Most people drive cars, most people are fine. Flying a plane is like 800% safer, or something like 1600% safer than driving a car or some shit like that.
Yeah.
A helicopter is like it has the same statistics, but in the reverse.
Yeah. The helicopter is the fentanyl of vehicles.
Yeah. No, it really is. Like it's.
It can only like what's it called? It can only be matched by the Osprey. The Osprey is the only deadlier vehicle than the helicopter.
And that's exactly.
And I am including in that the torpedoes that the Japanese used, where instead of a guidance system, they just put a person inside.
Oh my God.
These are safer than those. Than the literal suicide torpedo.
That might actually be true, depending on how many duds those torpedoes had and how many like misses those had.
Yeah.
Statistically.
In my mind, though,
like large numbers.
I will say that since they haven't been able to make one big enough to hold people, I do think, though, the quadcopter a lot more safe than what the helicopter can do. If you've ever seen those things, they are shockingly stable at flying.
Yeah.
The fact that you can like use them. Have you seen like the new like replacement for fireworks that doesn't cause people to have heart attacks that are like where they fly synchronized quadcopters and they like have lights on them to make pictures and stuff like that, and it looks really cool.
Yeah.
More of that, please.
Cool stuff.
Don't accidentally breathe in a helicopter. Yeah, don't do that. Also, they haven't been able to make a helicopter that you can ride in that doesn't basically make you go deaf if you ride in one for too long. Because they're super, super loud. And so when you're in one, you have to wear like headphones and stuff.
Yeah. Like, it's not... Why would anyone do it?
Mm-hmm.
No one... The helicopters are great for a very specific utility purpose, and that is firefighting and like wildlife rescue. Great, right? They can be used in like very rural conditions. They can be used in very like weird scenarios where you need to hover. But that's it. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
For any other purpose, take a train or a quadcopter.
Yep. We are anti-helicopter and pro-quadcopter on this show, apparently.
Helicopter bad, quadcopter good.
That's our T-shirt.
Which is our the motto for our upcoming engineering disaster podcast. Well, there's your very niche problem.
Yeah. Basically, the conclusion is the more copters it is, the better it is. And like in the early 20th century when they were just thinking, what if we just put more and more wings on it? It gets better. I am unironically for more copters. Like, I want one that's just 100 copters, like 100 rotating blades. Just...
It might ironically be safer because if you have one engine failure, you can be like, oh shit, it's a bit weaker. I guess I should go down, instead of just having one rotor, in which case you die.
Helicopter can land without the engine. Yeah, so the only parts that's dangerous with the helicopter is landing, taking off, and flying.
Landing, taking off, and low flying is the really dangerous part. Can they land without the engine?
Yeah, so the only dangerous part about a helicopter is when it's flying. I agree.
How does a helicopter land without the engine? How does it sustain?
I think two of the blades are designed to kind of be wings, wings in an emergency.
Yeah. They keep spinning due to the like the updraft.
Yeah, so there is. I imagine there is a way. If there was no way, if it was like if this dies, you just all will die in a fiery like flame.
Yes, yeah.
Like I feel like they wouldn't have. They would not. They would be like, all right, you know what? This technology needs to go back in the oven for a little bit until you figure that one out.
Yeah. Listen, all I'm saying is there's a reason why commercial helicopter airlines failed.
Well, they do exist. They're just for really rich people. Because I remember there was what's his name?
Yeah.
Who's that weird guy with the really weird jaw who made vlogs for like a year and was really rich? Casey Neistat. Casey Neistat always like took a helicopter to the airport, and it was like, what the hell?
It's like a cab, like a normal person.
Yeah. Okay. So third question.
What 1 hour in, we're doing great.
Yeah. This is why I hang on to the questions for a month. Now that we've had examples of both ContraPoints and Lindsay Ellis getting massive harassment on what I personally consider to be petty things, do we think that cancel culture is a real thing?
Depends on what you mean by cancel culture.
Yeah, now here's the thing. With like a lot of words that the right wing has learned about, cancel culture has been defined to mean a thing I don't like, or people making fun of me on Twitter. And while like one is like a harassment campaign, I don't think that's really cancel culture. That's just harassment. The other is just turned into a generic right-wing snarl word. Like you could also be like, and now that these people have experienced harassment campaigns, can we now agree that political correctness is a problem? And it's like, no. Like, unfortunately, it's it's lost. The right took it. You can't have it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like, but yeah, as you say, like, it's if we're talking about harassment, if we're talking about like cancel culture in terms of like these people have been harassed, then yeah, it's obviously real because these people have been harassed, quite a lot, for all sorts of reasons, and let's not get into that too much. But if we're talking about like cancel culture in the sense of like these people are not capable of having a career anymore, then no.
Yeah, I mean, like,
fine. Like, as far as I know, like it obviously it sucks to be harassed, and that in itself can affect your ability to have a career. But if we're talking about like having your income taken away or not being invited to like not being able to like have a voice or a platform anymore, then no.
yeah, because I was like, Lindsay Ellis got cancel culture to a 2-novel book deal, and ContraPoints got cancel culture to probably making more money than she's ever made for producing fewer videos. So I think they're both fine.
Yeah, they're doing great. Good for them.
Yeah, they're both very talented artists. Sometimes I don't agree with the decisions they make, but that's fine. That's not my prerogative.
They are girl bosses. They are slay queening.
Yes.
They are doing this in the name of Allah, of course.
Yes.
But they are doing girl boss shit. I don't know either of these people, so I don't know how comfortable I am saying this, but still.
They show that jihad works. That the struggle is real. Okay, I killed Mia.
SpongeBob, he lives in a giant pineapple. How do you think he acquired that pineapple? Through jihad.
Exactly. That's like a small time meme that I'm very much enjoying. the jihad.
I love the jihad meme. I love it so much. I also love, in a weird way, how it's sort of like destigmatizing the word jihad.
Yeah.
Like I'm
How does she change the public perception of girl dick? She does it through jihad.
God. She has memified mouthfeel. How do you think she can do this? Sell t-shirts through jihad.
Exactly.
We need someone to make it like we need someone to make. I hate the term breadtube because it doesn't mean anything anymore. But if we're talking about like left-wing content creators, of which I am a part, and many people are, we need to have a memory TV / breadtube like meme creation thing. That's what I think.
Is that like bread IRL on Reddit?
I guess it is, yeah. I don't really know what the fuck they post, but I need them to do more like memory TV memes.
I will.
Left-wing YouTube, yeah, exactly.
And also just normalize jihad. Okay. Yeah. So someone pointed out in the chat, there was quite a few moments in the last couple minutes that, if taken out of context, would make us look really terrible.
Listen. If this ends up on Fox News, hi, invite me please and pay me well.
If this ends up on Tucker Carlson,
I will talk more about my.
If this is up on Tucker Carlson, my name is Tristan. You can go to stepbackhistory.com and subscribe and join my Patreon. If you do, for everybody who joins me from your show, I will say that Glenn Greenwald did nothing wrong a handful of times.
Tucker, if you invite me over, I will gladly talk about Swedish jihad.
Yes. Tucker, if you let me on your show, I will every time the camera goes off of me, I will wear increasingly large bow ties until I overpower yours. If you think about it, Muslim girl bossing is jihad. That is fair.
What a wonderful time.
We are good. We're good at the internet.
How do you think he acquired that worm?
I mean, that's almost literal. How do you think?
That's literally doing though.
How did they defeat the computers? Through jihad.
Through jihad. How do you get revenge on the Harkonnen? Through jihad.
Yeah, exactly.
We're literally quoting the book at this point.
Yeah, it's true. All right. Okay.
Okay, question
Next
3.
question.
Question 4.
Yeah. Okay. This one's fun. Because this is actually like a happy one. Do you guys? What's your opinion on Star Trek Prodigy?
Ooh.
It is very good, is my answer. Star Trek Prodigy is the new kids show that Nickelodeon is making. It's a 3D animated show, and it is the most charming show ever. Because you know the thing with like Star Trek shows is that like the first like few episodes you're like, I don't know about these characters yet. I have to get in with it. First episode of Star Trek Prodigy, I am instantly in love with everybody on this cast.
Oh, bless.
Including Kate Mulgrew playing a hologram Catherine Janeway, who's acting like their teacher. Because she's a hologram, she thinks they're all... the whole plot of the show is they were part of like a mining labor camp, and they find this ship called the Protostar. And it's like a cadet training ship with a teacher hologram who is Kate Mulgrew as Captain Janeway. And she's programmed to think that they're all cadets. And so she's like teaching them about the values of the Federation and how to be Starfleet people while they're like all teenagers trying to get away from this camp. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. Every character on it is amazing. It has Jason Mantzoukas, who is great to just see Derek playing a Tellarite, which is perfect.
Of course he's there. He's in fucking every episode. I had a thing about this like a month ago or something like that. He's in everything.
Yep. So Jason Mantzoukas is playing a Tellarite who likes food. And
Who's paying this man?
I don't know. Jason Mantzoukas, he will do any cartoon.
He will.
Maximum Derek. Derek?
Derek? I need to watch this. I've been sort of like outside. I've been in a Stargate phase now for a bit. I need to get out of that and get back into Star Trek because they still make those.
Yeah, they don't stop making them now. It's weird because like originally you had like a break for about 10 years, not even like 15 years to catch up on Star Trek, but now they're making new ones all the time. It's a pigman. Yeah, he's a Tellarite. Tellarite pigman. First of all, Tellarite's probably the most underutilized Star Trek species that has not been like played that much. So I'm glad there's a main cast member that's a Tellarite finally. And that's played by Jason Mantzoukas, who is perfect for like the voice of a Tellarite. They also have like a big rock monster who's played by a 10-year-old girl, and it is perfect.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might watch like the first episode or something today.
It's so good. It's so like I have never like instantly fallen in love with every character on this show. It's so good.
Bless. I'm gonna watch it for that.
It's like if there was a way if you could imagine a wholesome Star Trek show, that's what that would be. Because it's Star Trek for kids, so it feels like Star Trek, but it's like fun and cute and like they're like just like they've never seen Starfleet tech, so they're just like blown away by how cool the replicator is, and like, it's great. Everybody watch Star Trek Prodigy because I am in love with this show. I mean, Lower Decks was designed for me specifically, but Prodigy is still just so good.
Also, someone, Donald Trump 901 said, if I had seen the Stargate AI-made script show reading last weekend. I did not, but I Googled it, and apparently the cast for Stargate SG-1 reunited to read...
A script that was made from feeding all of the scripts into an AI?
Yeah, from an AI. I need to see this like today. I need to like right now. I have the article up, so I'm gonna check it out later. But fuck yes. I'm losing my mind. There's too much content.
It's true. They
might make more Stargate. So I'm also like.
Jason Mantzoukas' character in Prodigy is named Jankum Pog, and refers to himself in the first person many times.
Is he poggers?
He is pretty poggers. He's just playing Derek. It's great.
I love this.
And he's the ship's engineer. It's too good. It's far too good.
Yeah. I'm gonna watch this.
Comes very close to what's it called? I had a character sitting aside. If I ever ended up in a situation where I get to play a Star Trek RPG, I've got my character already ready to go. Which is a middle-aged Tellarite woman who is chief engineer, and two of her very large sons are in the engineering department. And they're both adult sons who are kind of dumb, but they're good-hearted. Perfect character.
Hey Tristan, I just came up with an amazing idea, and you don't have to answer here if you don't want to. But what if sometime in the future we did our own Dimension 20, but with Star Trek or like sci-fi?
That'd be so cool.
I would be down.
Okay, well, we will have a conversation when my son can sleep through an entire night. That's when I.
Yeah, when you have time.
When I can throw more projects into the project hole.
That's fair.
I have a weakness to say yes to cool things and then being like, whatever. I haven't slept in 6 weeks. I don't care.
With that in mind, I will rescind this invite for like another year.
We will put it,
then we can see.
But I will table that one because that sounds fucking poggers.
Yeah, like I'm hoping that in a year or something, maybe I'll have the resources to like do something like that more professionally.
Yeah.
Or maybe even know the people on College Humor or Dropout.
We're not big deals, but we've got good Rolodexes for cast and guests and stuff, so that could be really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
We could probably get the McElroy brothers involved.
We could. I know somebody who knows the McElroy brothers, so I could try.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
Next we got is: does either of you have any critiques of postmodernism, and what are those critiques, if any?
Ooh. Interesting question.
Yeah. I have part of an answer, but it's not like perfect. So for those who don't know, postmodernism, outside of its definition on the internet, which is a thing I don't like, has a more technical meaning, which is sort of an academic philosophy of extremely critical analysis of pretty much all forms of like structured theory. So essentially, like, anytime you have some all-encompassing world system with no exceptions, a postmodernist will show up to show all of the exceptions and why you can't just use single totalizing theories to explain everything. Mm-hmm. Which is fine. If I were to say there's a criticism of it, is that now postmodernism has gone from being sort of these critical analysts of modernists mostly, or what's it called, like different groups like Marxist, like, you know, orthodox Marxism and stuff like that. In many ways, postmodernism is like an anti theory, in that it kind of is in many ways it makes other theories stronger by poking a bunch of holes that they then have to fix. The only problem is that worked really well in the context in which it took off, which is like in the late 60s, early 70s. But now that postmodern analytic thinking is sort of the mainstream way of looking at things, what becomes a problem is that it is a theory built entirely on critical analysis that doesn't have anything to critique except for phenomenological reality itself, which leads to academia being a realm, and kind of like even the online space being a realm where it's people critiquing and analyzing things and not proposing anything. And anybody who does propose something, it's now it's gotten to the point where it's like almost like South Parkian, where it's like, because South Park is super postmodernist, where it's like, now to even propose an idea or have like a legitimate, wholesome theory about something is to almost seem naive. And that means that we are constantly, like, the humanities is in this state where we're just constantly tearing each other apart and we're not really building up on each other anymore.
Yeah. That's a pretty good criticism.
So
I think that's more of a criticism of like the state of academia rather than the theory itself.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. But that's basically as far as you can go, you know.
Yeah, we have
And I would agree wholeheartedly.
we've spent like 40 years very finely tuning our ways of picking things apart, and we just basically do not have a culture of building things, and we are definitely in an age where we need new ideas, and we need to be building new concepts and new theoretical frameworks, because the old ones are not really serving their purposes anymore. And instead, all of our academics have been trained on critiquing and picking apart, which is making it hard to do things.
Yeah.
Hence why we haven't had Marxism 2 or whatever like that. Okay, I have a new idea. Corn 2. Hey, it's Thought Slime.
Hey!
The official sequel to Corn.
I do want corn. It's an anti-Sith philosophy.
Yeah.
It's Obi-Wanism.
But this is why, like, classical Marxists in the 70s thought that postmodernism was basically the bourgeoisie attempting to undermine Marxism. And I think, like, at one point, Michel Foucault was called, like, the last dying gasp of bourgeois theory or something like that.
Very interesting.
And this is all, yeah, this is why, like, in my mind, like, a lot of, like, postmodernism, because it's so focused on critique and not focused on building, does mean that it does have a rather like, it ends up being rather anti-left, because it ends up, I guess not really. That's a perception of it by weirdos.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's critical re-examination is great. It's just that we need to be we need new things.
Yeah, that's something that I think we both complain a lot about, that like the current political labeling, the current labels that we use like in political discourse generally is like very outdated, because people only use very like vague terminology, so as to like never be able to be subject to any criticism. To sort of so that way people in academia can criticize forever, and people in politics can do whatever, but they never interact.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's been coming up. I'm not much better, because like even though I fully agree with it, like at the same time I'm not gonna start attributing or like championing a political ideology, like, or a new political label, because if I do that, people are gonna go bananas.
They're gonna write video essays about you.
Exactly. I will, and then I will be cringe and lose subscriber.
Yeah, and also because we're both like classically trained academics. We went to academic school, which is just called school, and so our teachers and the way that we were taught how to do everything is based on critical theory and postmodern approaches to things. So when I try to develop cybernetic anarchism, real thing, not even joking, that I have baking in my brain, when I do it, everyone will be like, "Oh yeah, that's cringe. You're gonna lose subscriber."
Yeah.
Is this maybe why so much primacy is given to the tech sector as opposed to thought leaders, because tech is seen as the only area where new ideas can emerge? At this point, like, to my mind, like, this is, in my mind, this is the kind of reason why I think basic income is so popular, because it's like the first genuinely like new idea in like a lot of very old political ideas that have been going on right now. It's a bad idea, but it's like it's new, and it's just like people are excited about new things existing, which haven't in a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
That's
idea that
why.
Yeah, because like elites do the way that the liberal thinking of the world, but yeah, the kind of postmodern look and analysis of everything does mean that like the only way we can think of making new things is through technology, and that's why we can't think of like what's it called? Like we can't imagine, like, we could get rid of climate change today if we just made some like changes to lifestyle and government structure. But we can really imagine us inventing artificial trees before we do that, or covering an area the size of Nebraska with solar panels before we can imagine doing something like that.
Yeah.
What do we predict will be the next?
What?
It's like, what can we predict will be the next great theory that'll shape the 21st century? You know, if you've got the answer to that, you should write it down because then you'll be in history books.
It will be Mia Mulderism.
Yeah. I will say...
I just moved. I'm about to get involved in like actual Swedish politics. So if you live in like Stockholm, vote for me in the next election. And then I can... and while I do that, I'm also gonna like post my fucking political video essays as my next manifesto. Like some modern day Marx doing a criticism of Hegel, I will post my video pamphlets on the criticism of Jordan Peterson.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people who are talking about anarcho-transhumanism in the chat. That's not what I mean by cybernetic anarchism. Wait until my next video. Cybernetics means something very different than what people think it does based on the cultural approach to it. So hold out for that one. Wait for CyberSyn, my next video, which will come out whenever Skillshare says I'm allowed to make it or release it. I'm in that area right now where I'm waiting for Skillshare to say you're allowed to make video now.
You're allowed to click post.
Yeah, I'm allowed to post. I give you permission to post.
I need to send my stuff in for my next video as well.
All right. You think... Next question we got here is, you think for an April Fool episode of IPNA, you and Scott could look at an episode of something like UFO Hunters or Monster Quest? I know some UFO show-based podcast will do that kind of thing as a fun treat. I mean, I'm not against doing something like that. We haven't really thought about what kind of like special content we're gonna make. The only thing that we've come to the conclusion on is that if we hit a certain milestone of downloads, which we're hovering around getting to 50,000 downloads by the end of 2021, and if we can get to that, then our plan is to do a commentary track of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, a movie I hate so much. and so that's the thing. But yeah, we passed 20K, so get us to 50K, everybody. Is it about Project CyberSyn? Yes, my next video is about Project CyberSyn. Cybernetics is when you have sex with computers. Thank you, Thoughtslime. That is correct.
Yes, it is. It's true.
It's true, and more people should say it.
This is what's lacking in the current political discourse. Not enough people are having sex with computers.
Postmodernism is why we can't have sex with computers like God intended.
Paul Atreides is about to join the chat.
Oh man. Okay. Next we got here is why. Okay, this is interesting. You might have more to say on this as somebody who is a former armed forces member, but also somebody who knows probably a little bit more about this kind of history than me. Why are naval mutinies usually left-wing, such as the Potemkin Mutiny, the Kiel Mutiny, or the 1931 Chilean Navy Mutiny?
Because the vast majority of people who are drafted into the military are working class, and the vast majority of people who were drafted or like sent into the Navy are people who worked as fishermen. Typically not the wealthiest, most elite type of working people, but they would mix with like other working people from the cities that would come on as like the history class. I learned this in like while being a cadet. Actually, it's actually very interesting. So, for the vast majority of naval history, it's probably not as true anymore because of changes in like drafting methods and stuff like that. But the way it used to be, anyway, is that like typically officers, like high-ranking officers, would be more upper-class people who have had like an education. Middling officers, which would be like the second largest group on the ship, would be like kind of middle class, upper working class people from cities, because they still need an education, but it's not as much of an education. You can still like get by. It's fine. But then the vast majority of crew members are people from the coast, people from fishing villages, people from people who work in like merchant marines and stuff like that, people who already work on ships. who are like more ideologically connected with working class people from cities, but maybe who haven't been educated as much as part in like working class ideology or whatever. So what happens is, it happens quite a lot in a lot of these ships, is that all of these people combine on a ship. The upper like brass on a ship are typically isolated a little bit and only work with the working class, with like the seamen through the middling officers. And all you really need are some middling officers who's like read some literature and who talks to other people on about it, and suddenly they're in charge of the ship, because all you really need are enough people among the seamen who can like man everything, and enough people from the middling class to open up doors. And then that's all you need.
Yeah, and sailors are a notoriously unruly bunch. Like,
yeah,
I can like the largest, like there was during the Russian Revolution a naval, or not navy, but like a longshoreman strike, a dock workers strike that was protesting working conditions under the Soviet government. Which was hilarious. What wasn't hilarious is how it ended, because the Soviets responded to workers striking for better working conditions by shelling them. But that's a story for a different time.
Yeah.
I've been debating making a Kronstadt Rebellion video, but I know that it will officially get me like on the naughty list for a bunch of people. There's a bunch of people who I'm kind of on like a shaky truce with, where if I made a Kronstadt video, it'd be over.
Oh no. Yeah, Kronstadt is one of those things that like once you talk about it, there's a lot of people who have that fragile alliance that's the thing that breaks it.
Yeah, Kronstadt would basically be like, hey, every friend of mine who is an MLM, we're done. Because the official line is that they are fascists, even though it happened like 20 years before the 10 years before the first fascist party creation. But okay.
There's also another reason why it happens in ships a lot is also because like ships as opposed to like most other branches of the military and most other parts of society work in a very closed system, right? Because you're on a ship. And that's the command structure you have. That's the life structure that you have. When you're in the army, like you can still like see the rest of the world and understand that you are a small part in a big society. But when you're on a ship, like if you're in the army, right? Like you know that if you take over a military base, other like units are gonna come to you and fuck you up. But if you're on a ship and you can take over the ship, you can take over your entire world, and then you can decide what to do with that world for as much as you want. And you can like go back, or you can go to another country. What a lot of people do was they would go to other ships and do the same thing to them, and suddenly have a small little like mutineering fleet. And then what a lot of people do is they just sail to a country whose ideological system that they agree with. That's how like Russia. That's how the Red Army like weirdly got like a lot of German ships.
Mm-hmm. Sounds based.
Yeah.
I'm just reminded when we were kind of having that conversation, like because people were talking about like what true socialism is when you kill strike workers and stuff. That somebody there was a great tweet that I adored, which was pictures from when we raid Hassan's house. And it was like it was all those paintings from the Russian Revolution of like the peasants in the castle of the Tsar.
Jesus Christ!
It's a beautiful thing.
Beautiful thing. Good meme discourse.
I actually learned like a lot of history right now. I did not know any of that stuff.
Yeah, it's like naval history. It's its own like weird fleet. It's its own like weird field that I'm like weirdly into and that I don't often talk about.
Well, one thing I find weird is didn't like the Soviets not name their ships? Like their ships were just like numbers.
I'm not sure if I'm not super. They did definitely informally name their ships, but formally, I do think that they also had like like SZ-601, and that's like a destroyer or some shit. A lot of stuff like that. A lot of nations in like the 30s and like 30s to 50s didn't really name their shit very well. Like the French named their artillery pieces, I think ordered numerically, and the Nazis did the same thing with their tanks, which sounds practical, right? Like if you make 500, if you make 500 like artillery pieces, it makes sense to name the first one number 1 and the last one 500. The problem with that that the Nazis encountered is that it's very easy for the enemy to keep track about how many you've made.
Yeah, fair. I just got a really good question I think you really want to answer, which is, hi Tristan, who is the lady to your left?
My name is Mia Mulder. I do YouTube video essays. You can find my stuff on miamulder.com.
There you go. That's wild. I don't know. Boat history.
Boat history is
Boatstery.
fucking great.
Is Stockholm
great.
a port town? Does it have water?
Yes. It has so much water. It's called the Venice of the North. It has so many fucking islands that you don't even fucking know. There are many bridges. I think it has like one of the most bridges in Europe, if I remember correctly. And it's it's very naval. It's extraordinarily naval. It's very fun though. So occasionally you do get to see some cool ships, which I love because I'm a fucking nerd.
Boat nerd?
I am a fucking boat nerd.
Man, if you ever find out that the Ever Given, the only boat currently running boat that I know of, ever arrives in Stockholm, you got to get a picture of that shit.
Yeah, for sure.
The big boat of Big Boat Stuck fame, which was the greatest moment of 2021, and I'm including that if my son is born early this year.
Bless. I love that everyone in the chat is also saying, like, hang on, isn't the other town the Venice of the North? I think a lot of cities want to be the Venice of the North. But yes, we do have a lot of islands and shit.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, if you ever come visit, like, it's good shit.
I should go to Sweden. Sweden is like one of the European countries I can go to, and I'll be like, "Hi, I'm speaking English," and people understand me.
Yeah, you'll be just fine.
Yep. I only know a handful of languages, which means that like I can get by probably in a lot of countries. I know French and a little bit of Spanish. I think that will get me by in a good chunk of European countries. One of those will work.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Except maybe like, Eastern Europe it'll be more complicated, but that's a different story. I'm getting off topic. Okay. Ooh, this is another fun one that I think actually speaks directly to your life experience. What are your...
Is it more naval questions?
No, well, close, but no. What is your opinions on LARP, living history, and historical reenactments? And if I remember correctly, you worked in a historical reenactment thing at one point, like a park or a history park thing, didn't you? Didn't you say you worked in like a historically themed theme park or something like that? I think it was like a Wild West park.
No, but I wanted to.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to, and I've been there. This is the thing. I don't think I actually worked there. Well, I don't think. As far as I know, I haven't. But I applied for a job there, and I have been there, and I have a lot of friends who've been there. Yes, it's called High Chaparral. It's like a cowboy theme park where they do reenactments and have like Native Americans play Native Americans in like teepees, and they teach kids about cowboys and Indians.
So what do you have thoughts about living history, LARP, or historical reenactments?
As with many things, as long as it's done respectfully, I have no problem with it. Like even like the weird shit like Civil War reenactments, like there's a part of me that's just like if the reenactors are like honest about what's happening, like if everyone involved knows that the Civil War is about slavery, then I have no problem with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like go nuts.
I
People do historical reenactment, like Viking villages and stuff like that. As long as it's respectful, as long as it's like accurate, as long as it's not weird, go nuts.
Yeah, history reenactments are good. Living history is sort of when historical sites will have actors playing as if they are part of that
Mm.
era to teach people about things. And I don't think
Mhm.
that's a problem either. I think that that's good. Like, the most famous one I can think of, famous as far as these things go anyway, is historical Williamsburg, Colonial Williamsburg, which is in
Oh.
Virginia.
I've heard about this.
Yeah, it's I've been there a few times, and it's great because everyone there does pretty much act as they did, like it was like when it was a British colony, basically, like kind of on the eve of the Revolution, and that's solid. I like it.
Yeah.
I also, as a kid, when I was like maybe like 12, no, I would have had to be older because I had to have been at least at least in high school. I tried out to be a Canadian like War of 1812 reenactor because I met somebody who was doing it and I thought it was really cool. And you couldn't do anything with guns until you were 18, so I was a kid. So they tried to make me into the which I always find the wildest thing about like that era of warfare, which is that on top of all of your soldiers, you need a fucking marching band to go along with you in order to keep everybody synchronized. So
Yes, you do.
and then they just like drafted children to do this role. So I guess I was put on to try and do that, and they spent an entire day trying to teach me how to use a snare drum, and I could not get it to work. But then they found out I played the flute, and I did the fifing for a bit.
Fuck yes.
And then but then I never continued because it was in Toronto and it was a long drive, and I just like I don't really want to go to Toronto every weekend to play a fife and wear a silly red jacket to fight the Americans. So
Fair.
so I almost did it. I don't know if I would do it today. I think military history doesn't really interest me that much, but I think that's all fine. And LARP, I have no problem with LARP. I've never done it, but I can't for the life of me play as much Dungeons and Dragons as I do, and not and then look down on people who do LARPing.
Yeah. When I was a teenager, I did a Battlestar Galactica LARP in an old naval ship in Gothenburg.
Were you a
So
Cylon?
I was not, but I was an engineer. So it was my job to fix fighters, by which it means like pulling post-it notes and clicking and like doing things on a wall, fake, and keeping an eye out for Cylon sabotage.
Cool.
I was suspected of being a Cylon for a little bit because I was bad at my job, but I did okay.
I do know that I don't know a whole lot about LARPs, but I do remember that like for some reason Scandinavians have their own style of LARPs. That's like it's actually called like Scandinavian style. So I guess it's a much bigger deal in like the big old dong of Europe.
It does definitely happen. It is like pretty, like it is pretty like large.
Oh, it's
Like
called
they do,
Nordic
like,
LARP.
big
Sorry.
Oh yeah, yeah. They do like weekend, like long weekend style things. And this was one of those things like you sleep over like 2 nights. You get there on Friday and you leave on Sunday night.
Yes, it's dedicated to immersion and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's fun shit.
It's a thing I would totally do. Just often involves going to the country, and Tristan is a non-car owner, so there is that.
Yeah.
What is a Cylon? A Cylon is a robot that
The robot
imagine if a robot was a fundamentalist Christian, and that's basically what they are.
looked human.
Yeah. Imagine that you have to constantly be seducing Short King, Gaius Baltar in his head.
Oh, horrible.
Yeah, I didn't realize, because like I tried watching the show again. I couldn't get through it because it was just way too grim. But, man, Gaius sucked. He sucked so much.
Sucks so much. Sucked so much. Such a bad
Anytime,
guy.
and also like during that show, anytime things were focused around Trisha Helfer's character and Gaius Baltar, I was like, well, this episode's gonna suck.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, that's that. Next up, we got. All right. Okay, this is gonna be a Chewy question, so I'm just gonna send a link. I'm gonna send the text to you right beforehand.
Very well.
So the question is: so when I asked the First Amendment / fairness doctrine question, you both said no to its use to private. I should clarify, I meant private, not personal spaces. I do have 2 further questions on the topic. 1, if you said that the left has been censored, wouldn't it make sense for us to have those protections on social media and the news? 2, if we're willing to let the state or corporations dictate terms of service, how are we living up to leftist values of egalitarianism and human progress? Alrighty. So.
Interesting.
So the first question I got here, I will say that the kind of take that you're implying through the question is sort of similar to Noam Chomsky's take. And this is why Noam Chomsky has been like signed on to that anti-cancel culture thing. That very often censorship rules and laws and even censorship norms are typically used to suppress left-wing voices rather than right-wing voices. And while I agree to that to an extent, I do think that in the context of the United States, that really in this situation when they're talking about censoring speakers and stuff like that, it has been in recent times very much focused on the right in a way that the left has always been censored. Like like what's it called? Like in my mind, the there has never been free speech for leftists in America ever. And the idea of stepping in to stop people from spreading hate isn't going to have the any sort of liberatory effect on left-wing speakers because they're already just not even invited. As I kind of mentioned, as I mentioned, I had a left-wing speaker come when I was in American Studies, and it pissed off the rich donors to the department so much they pulled all their funding, and my entire department disappeared. So that's my question 1.
Yeah. That's a pretty good answer too. I would also say that since the left has been censored, even within the purview of free speech protections, I feel like by enshrining free speech more absolutist would as you say probably wouldn't do much to alleviate left-wing voices anyway, but would do much more to sort of normalize or at least basically take the current misinformation crisis and just say that it has to be okay. Because if we are to allow total free speech or free speech to the point where the right wing can be part of it, then we also have to do it so misinformation can be part of it. And that's something that I'm not super sure is a good thing.
So wouldn't the fairness doctrine help minority and leftist voices? Well, not really, because the fairness doctrine has only ever been used to promote. The thing is, you can't really separate these laws and rules from the context in which they're created and how they're actually used. The fairness doctrine is a great idea in theory and in media, that you should have all sides of an issue be able to have a say when you're discussing something on the air. In actuality, the fairness doctrine was not so much used to make sure that every political voice had a space at the table, even the ones that you don't like, but was used to promote misinformation about climate change and misinformation about the safety of tobacco and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And
And
then,
like even today, people do like the whole shit about like vaccines, where like some people, even outside of the US and even outside like any furthest doctrine, will do this thing where they invite like someone who knows that vaccines are safe, and then some asshole who thinks that it's not.
yeah, and like, because like I have like, anytime that they're like, we're going to bring people in and we're going to like use like, you know, we're going to use these free speech discussions to bring in people that you might not agree with. I have never seen that being used to bring on a communist, to bring on an anarchist, to bring on anybody except for somebody who is coming on to talk about why racism is good. That's like, and yeah, like, and so like, you know, legal theories aside, while free speech is a wonderful idea, it is not one that really can exist in phenomenological reality, because the balance, like if we lived in a world where everybody, like where everyone was on an equal playing field, maybe, but because we don't live in that world and because we don't have neutral forms of media, it won't ever really work. Now, the other question was, if we're willing to let the state and corporations dictate terms of services, how are we living up to leftist values of egalitarianism and human progress? And I would say that a lot of times the free speech is not a thing that exists. That's basically the take that I have. There is no such thing as free speech. But the way that we conceive of free speech, especially in an American First Amendment context, is that people who are powerful have the platform of speech. And fairly often, you know, that is used to specifically antagonize and like ostracize a group of people who then aren't there and don't have the power to speak on such a platform. So when you have no rules, no protections, nothing, you are essentially ceding the seat to the person who has the most amount of cultural or political or monetary power. And that oftentimes you have to, you know, tell the TERFs that they're not welcome so that trans people can speak safely. It's that kind of a story.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I hope that made sense.
I think so. It was a good answer.
Like, I think in a lot of ways, the ideal of free speech is nice, but it's not a thing that can actually, like, I've never seen it work in any form of reality because we unfortunately live in a society.
Yeah. Free speech is one of those things that's like we should strive towards, but will never actually exist.
Yeah, and right now when we're in a situation where information is literally causing the breakdown of society, we're kind of trying to figure out what to do about that.
Yeah.
All right, next question we got here. Oh yeah, so next question, this one's fun. This has to do with all shout out to everybody who is in the UK or Canada right now. So we just got over poppy season.
Oh yeah, that war thing.
Yeah, so Canada and the UK do this thing called Remembrance Day, which is where you're supposed to wear a red poppy to show that you love the troops. And less so in Canada, more so in the UK. If you don't have a poppy on, they'll be like, "Oh, you hate the troops. You aren't troop respecting enough or whatever."
Unless you hate freedom.
Yeah, it's less of a thing in Canada. And so, have I ever gotten shit for not wearing a poppy in November? And the answer is no, I haven't, because it's less of a big deal here in Canada. But second, because I do wear a poppy, and it's not the same one that everyone else wears, and nobody really wants to ask questions about it. So, it's one of these ones. I don't know if I can get that there, but it says peace on it. It is made by an organization in the UK that gives out peace poppies that are designed for talking about remembering the victims of war, all victims, enlisted and non-enlisted, civilian and soldier. And remembering what like that they died in hopes that we will live in a world where we don't make any more of them.
Yeah.
And I like it. I like that concept quite a bit, so I wear this every November for the first 11 days. Oh, White, where did you get it? So I have ordered them from the UK in the past. It cost a little bit of money, but they did come. The other one is I did find them in a church in Toronto once, and I grabbed a handful of them when I was there, and I just kind of have hung on to them since. That's the main thing. I don't know. You guys, I think it's very UK to do that. Alrighty.
I have no clue. Like, the poppy is not a thing that we do here.
Yeah, because you guys...
We don't remember the war. We sit in our gold-plated houses that we made from selling guns and steel.
Yeah. I don't even know what Sweden did in World War One. Neutral, right?
Yeah, completely neutral.
Yeah, okay.
We suffered from the fucking blockade, though.
Fun. All right, so we got one...
Why am I saying that to you as if you caused the blockade?
I did. I did it.
You personally blockaded...
It's true.
The Strait.
Listen, we can't all be criticized for things we do in our past.
This is cancel culture.
This is cancel culture. I'm being canceled for blockading Germany. Listen, I didn't unleash unlimited U-boat warfare, but I did finish it. Okay. Next question, last question before we wrap up. In 1987, long before the War on Terror, my favorite author, Iain Banks, wrote a sci-fi novel where the antagonist alien race are somewhat coded Islamic. In spite of the fact Banks was a socialist and publicly protested the Iraq War, after 2001 that book acquired more than a few right-wing fans. What would you do if you were an author and found yourself in a situation like that? Just imagine you wrote a sci-fi novel where the bad guys have some imperialist Japan coding, but then years after it's published, anti-Japanese sentiment massively upticks for some reason, and suddenly your book has a lot of right-wing racist fans. What, if anything, would you try and do about it?
I guess the only thing to do is, like, if you've already done it, right? Like, the best thing to do, I guess, would just, like, to vehemently, like, stand up against it, to use your voice as the author to be like, hey, that's wrong. I mean, the ideal choice would be to not do that thing in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, we all tend to tropes in writing, so it does happen. Yeah, I would just be like, yeah, to actively use the voice to like that you've acquired to sort of speak against that.
Yeah.
Maybe if you do a new publishing, you can have like in the forward, just like fuck Islamophobes.
Yeah. Furthermore, I'd write a sequel where the evil aliens were the ones who are just misunderstood and like completely undermine their entire thing. But yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. I am like, you know, it's a more tangible one that that is on brand, which is the Wachowskis are kind of in this situation. Yes. R.E. the Red Pill.
Mm-hmm.
And where the right has sort of dealt with dealt with the fact that the right have appropriated this term, even though, and I don't know, what do the Wachowskis do except just shit on them on Twitter?
Yeah, basically. Is it Lana who does it?
Yeah. The other Wachowski...
I swear to God, that's going to be a part of the new movie.
Yeah. I don't know what... Yeah, because like they are playing a lot with the pills. Like it's a big part of the branding of the movie. I don't remember what Lana's sister's alive name is.
Lily.
Lily?
Lily Wachowski.
Okay.
But is Lily the one with the Twitter account?
Lana is the one who always gets into it. Lily's not even doing this one because she's just like, I think she I don't know if she's done anything since like, I don't know. It's been a while. I think. I feel like Lily Wachowski's a little bit more private.
Yeah, I love that Lily has in her Twitter bio, not in the new Matrix film, so stop asking me. Like, she got too much about it. Why do I not follow her? I should. Lana Wachowski has a Twitter but hasn't posted.
Oh man, this sucks. This is unfair. Did you? The Wachowskis share a Wikipedia article.
What?
That feels unfair.
What the fuck? Okay.
Yeah.
That's stupid. But why? They've done separate shit.
Mm-hmm. Remember the period when only one of them had transitioned and we didn't know what to call them? Yeah, they were like the Wachowskis or the Wachowski siblings or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, we definitely gotta do Matrix posting when that comes out.
Oh, for sure.
That's next month. It's fucking soon. We're gonna find.
It's gonna be good.
John Wick goes into the metaverse. That's the way I'm seeing it. John Wick versus the metaverse. Cause like he looks so much like John Wick in this movie.
Yeah, it's just John Wick.
It comes out on December 22nd, so it's actually gonna be. I'm gonna be doing my last stream before I go on hiatus when the movie comes out.
God, yeah.
So the first stream when we come back, we're gonna have to do a big Matrix thing.
I wonder when it comes out here, because maybe I get lucky and it releases like a month earlier, like with Dune.
Ooh, okay.
I doubt it.
I want to get this question in beforehand because I feel like you might have an answer for this. That's really useful right now. Mm-hmm. How should I go about asking my therapist to stop calling me by my dead name?
Ooh.
Actually, why don't we expand this question in general? Because that's a good way to start. But also, I'd be curious about the how-to guide on to like how to make sure everybody knows about new names and stuff.
Yeah. I would just like very firmly say, but like this is the name that I go by. And if they don't respect it, then you can like firmly say that like if you're not gonna respect my name, then I can't continue this professional relationship.
Yeah, that's fair.
But with a therapist, that's difficult because you might not be able to. But what you should do then is like you should be like, then I don't feel comfortable having you as a therapist, which I think would be the therapist equivalent.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Something like that. Just like firmly be like, this is my new name. If they don't respect it, you can be like, you better or else. And then if they don't respect it, then cut them loose.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very hard and fast rule that I live with, but
I imagine that it's a very confusing time when you're going through your name change to make sure that everyone who needs to know knows and all the paperwork is to be done and everything like that.
Yeah.
That's a completely
different...
different...
don't worry about the paperwork. I'm like a decade into my transition. I still have paperwork to do.
Oh God.
I could have sorted this out like 8 years ago, and I just haven't. So don't worry about that. You can take as long as you want with that.
Mm-hmm.
But my therapist still calls me by the correct name, so because I fucking told her.
I don't have a therapist. I just keep making videos where I spend months researching some of the darkest topics that have ever happened in human history. And I don't really express emotions about it. And I'm thinking I'll just be fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine. It's fine.
That's what you should do. Collab with me on my Austin Powers video. When I make that. It's fun because I've watched Austin Powers like 4 times in the last month.
All right, I'm always down. I love to collaborate with stuff.
It's if you don't have a therapist, that's basically therapy.
It's true.
The scene where they pull stuff out when it looks like they're pulling like a rope out of Austin Powers' butt cured my depression.
That is, I know that I've mentioned this before. But that is the scene, the only scene I can think of where when I saw it in theaters, I was like laughing so hard that I actually could not catch my breath. Like I was like going to pass out from laughing so hard. Just to show where my brain was when I was like 13 years old when that movie came out or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we are at 2 o'clock though, so you should tell everybody where they can consume Mia content, and then I'm going to find somebody to raid. We're gonna raid. We haven't raided the serfs. Let's raid the serfs.
Oh yeah. I'm Mia Mulder. You can find my stuff on miamulder.com. If you go to there, it'll take you to my YouTube channel. You can also find me on Potato Politics on Twitter, or you can find me on twitch.tv/Mia Mulder. You should also listen to Leechfast. It's a podcast that I do about medical history with my close friend. It's very, very good. You should listen to it. We recently recorded an episode on plastic surgery and the history of that. So that's fun.
Alrighty.
So if you like more old-fashioned classic history knowledge with some fun jokes, that's there. Also, there is secret trans history in that episode. It's not out yet, but once it's out, you can listen to it and you can keep an eye out for the secret trans history.
You have to play the podcast backwards.
Yeah, put backwards and at like 1.3 speed, and then you hear the devil.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, we're gonna go raid the serfs. Good stuff. I guess they're following that Rittenhouse trial. But I've been Tristan. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. So take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And I'll describe cybernetic anarchism a different time.